Hello all, and welcome to the Movie Bears podcast. I'm Brad Harris, and each week I'm joined by hunky, hairy, huggable homos who love film to discuss movie news, sometimes, and dish a little bit of film reviewage. With me, as usual, my wonderful co-host, Jim Pliafco. Welcome, Wim. I just, merged the two.
With our powers combined, we are Wim!
Wow. Welcome, Jim. Oh, my gosh. It's been a long day. Wow.
Wim reporting for duty. Captain Wim.
Nice. And Jill, welcome, Jill.
Hey, that one actually kind of worked. Yeah, we've got a few more H's for us. Let's add ho 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 to the mix, right?
Hey, why not? Why not? It is our annual holiday movie review discussion.
You haven't been into the spiked eggnog already.
I haven't. Unless I don't know. My water was somehow spiked. Did you put something in it, Jim?
No, you'd know. Water.
Oh, would I?
Can't. Yeah, I'm not that good.
Yeah. I don't know.
Something was in the water.
Wow.
But anyway, big show this week. We're going to be talking about Krampus, the new dark comedy / horror ? I don't even know. Movie that's out in theaters right
Both?
now.
None? Maybe? I don't know.
For your holiday pleasure. And we'll be talking about some of our favorite Christmas films, although we decided we wanted to kind of go with some of our alternative favorite Christmas films. Since last week, oh my gosh, guys. Last year, it feels like last week. Geez, Christmas is upon us. Since last year, we talked about some of the more traditional ones. Although that said, guys, all of my picks last year were non-traditional alternative picks.
Yeah, I seem to recall you doing the He-Man Christmas special as one of your picks.
Yeah, I did that, and then I did, I don't know, some others that were not the traditional ones. So I don't know. I was struggling to find one for this time around, I'll say. But I thought of a good one. I think that's going to work. We'll see. But guys, are you ready for the holidays at this point? Does it feel like it's time?
It snuck up this year, and it always does. We haven't put up the Christmas tree yet, and I feel bad about that because it's not really Christmas without the Christmas tree and without the decorations and without that just general feeling of festiveness. We haven't done that. I did start doing my Amazon shopping for friends and family today, so at least I'm not going to be panicking at the last minute trying to do presents. But I don't know. I feel like each year Christmas sneaks up on me more and more and more. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm with you. I was just last night I was thinking, oh my God, it's almost the middle of December, right? And Christmas, that means Christmas is 2 weeks? It seems like it's 2 weeks away. Maybe a little bit more at this
3.
point. But
Yeah,
but it's crazy. I'm like, oh my God, I think I better start getting my ass in gear. And to be honest, that's the pressure of Christmas that I don't like. That's the part of Christmas that I don't like, is feeling that pressure of the holiday kind of bearing down on you.
2.5 weeks.
There's certain things you're expected to do, and if I guess we bring it on ourselves. So, but there just seems to be things that are expected of you, whether it's gift giving or decorating, or party planning, whatever it is. It's kind of a crazy season, and I don't know. That's why I kind of like some of the other holidays better than Christmas these days.
Jim, maybe this year we should have a Fallout Christmas. We'll roam around the neighborhood. We'll poke through their junk. We'll scrap some metal. Maybe tear some houses down.
I have a feeling a Fallout Christmas is really just going to be Brad staying inside and playing a bunch of Fallout, which is also a good holiday alternative.
I'm down for that, man. If you tell me that's what you want to do, I would totally go for that.
No, I have a Doctor Who Christmas special to watch.
Both, but make it both then.
We'll make it both? Yeah. I was thinking maybe just a special.
As long as it doesn't involve hanging strings of untangling and getting out of the garage, untangling and hanging strings of lights that I'm going to have to just pack back up again in 4 weeks.
We could totally be down for it. We could totally just cut a tree out of cardboard, spray paint it green, Jim, and make some construction paper ornaments and stack the presents around that and call it good.
See, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I used to have, I still got it somewhere. I had the little Charlie Brown tree, you know, the one that's like the really tiny, shitty tree with the one ornament leaning it over. I mean, the whole thing was like maybe 2.5, 3 feet tall, and for years, like a couple years at least, like I would just put that up and put presents around it, and it was great. It reminded me of something very like holiday-ish, while also taking like next to no effort. So win-win.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel this way now, but I have a feeling, Jim, come later this week when we go to the Lofts holiday sing-along on Thursday, that I'm going to have the Christmas spirit coming out of that.
Okay, great, because we'll be buying a tree probably the next day.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So, I don't know.
Yeah, we get a boy, how do we say it now? It's not a live tree anymore because it's actually dying. But we get a real cut tree every Christmas because it's a tradition that my family had.
Oh wow!
So that's what we do. This is our part of we do our part to destroy the environment one Christmas tree at a time.
I mean, I think if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna devastate the environment, you might as well do it like, you know, with as much festivity as possible.
In a festive way, yeah.
Hey, it's all about WWKD. What would Krampus do?
Oh, he would be all about that. Just like, why don't you have like 3 trees? Fuck the environment.
Right.
Let's go with 4. Anyway, well, to help us maybe get into the holiday spirit a little more, guys, why don't we talk a little bit about, we'll choose one each, but let's talk about some of our favorite alternate holiday films. Last year, man, we talked about a bunch of alternate ones already because we were like, geez, I mean, at this point, continuity, right? This is like our 3rd Christmas-themed episode.
I feel like it. Yes, it is.
Yeah, because our 3-year anniversary show is coming up with The Force Awakens in a couple weeks, which, holy crap, a couple weeks till that comes out.
Yeah.
Less than a couple weeks, actually, 11 days.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not counting or anything.
It is really soon.
Right. But anyway, I think for me, just one of the ones I didn't talk about last year, kind of made my list, but not enough, like some others edged it out. But my pick this year, because I'm going to be stingy and like kick off the discussion myself, is actually the movie version of Rent, which, Jim, I know you hate Rent. It's totally
hate is a very strong word, Brad.
That you have said on several occasions.
That I probably would not use even against.
Oh my God! You've said the word hate at least 3 times that I can count.
Maybe, but I don't. It's not one of my favorite movies. But
it's not even on your list of movies you would watch with me. So
I did watch it with you once, I think.
You fell asleep 10 minutes in, and I was like, babe, I can pause it. We can come back to it later. You're like, no, go ahead and watch it.
Yeah. And I don't want to, start the show off with negativity and carry it all the way through.
But we did.
But it's just, I don't know. I think there's something about the music in Rent that just doesn't catch me. And I don't know what it is. It's a style or something.
Total like rock opera, bohemian,
Yeah, but I know. I think it's just, I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell me who the songwriter and stuff is, but it's just not it just doesn't, certain music appeals to certain people, and that's just not my thing, I guess.
Well, Brad, what is it about this that appeals to you? I mean, this one's on your list. What gives you the holiday, the warm fuzzies?
Well, first of all, this takes place starting at Christmas, and so Christmas is kind of a backdrop in this film. This is why I say it's kind of an alternate pick for me, because Christmas isn't like the main theme of Rent. Like, there aren't like major numbers about like Santa Claus coming to town or anything. Christmas does play a small part in a couple of like incidental numbers in the Broadway play. Movie doesn't so much have those that I remember, but I don't know. It kind of takes place around that holiday time. There's kind of the idea of giving even of yourself, if not monetarily or to the homeless or whatnot. But I don't know. I think Christmas is kind of a backdrop in this film. I love the music in this. There's just so many great songs that I listen to and belt out in the shower when Jim is not around and the cats think I'm going nuts and dying in a cabinet of water spray due to my god-awful singing. But there's just some great songs in this movie. I actually like the play better. Will, I don't know if you saw like the 25th anniversary DVD they made of one of the performances that got a lot of the original people back.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's so good. I actually like that better than the movie version, but we were talking about movies, and I'm like, I don't know if that counts. So, but this version definitely does. It was great to see some of the originals back: Idina Menzel, Anthony Rapp, some of the other folks as well. Jesse L. Martin, who I love. I've been loving him on The Flash the last couple of years. That guy, he just melts my heart. And like when he sings, like after spoilers, Angel dies, and I know, it slays me every time. There's just so much, at least for me, to enjoy about this. This is one of those kind of comfort films that I like to put on kind of around the holiday times. It's not necessarily like, hey, I need to get in the holiday spirit. I'm going to turn on Rent and listen to people singing about dying of HIV and AIDS. It's more just like, it's part of it, but there's just sort of this message of accepting who you are and not distancing yourself because maybe you're afraid of losing people. Plus, it's got Rosario Dawson in it, who I love. I've enjoyed seeing her in Daredevil and some other things lately that has been great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just a lot to like. Well, I know you're a fan of Rent. You've sang Rent songs on the show before. So,
yeah. Yeah, I have. Yeah, I love this movie. I think that it's not necessarily like one of the best movies of all time, but at the same time, it's one that except for quote along shadow cast things for a Rocky Horror Picture Show, Rent holds the record for movie I've seen most in the theaters. I saw this damn thing like 4 times when it came out.
Wow.
I'd go by myself, and the next week I was like, oh, I'll take a friend. It's like I kind of want to go see it again, so I'll see it again. And yeah, I mean, the Christmas theme is certainly there. The play itself the first act is all set like on Christmas Eve,
right?
And in the film they spread that over multiple days, which is why that kind of Christmassiness is a little bit more diffused in the movie.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, as far as musicals go, especially for people our generation, I think Rent is one of those ones that's a cultural touchstone, again, for people around our age. There's a lot of people that are now into like things like Wicked or Avenue Q or Book of Mormon, and I think Rent is was the door that opened that, or was that musical door for us. At least it was for me. It was kind of the first musical that I super fell in love with.
Yeah. Good stuff. Absolutely. Jim, I know the music doesn't quite do much for you.
No, but I mean, would it make? Maybe I should go back and revisit it. I know it's a big favorite of yours, so. This is one that I would probably give us another chance to. But don't catch me after I've eaten a big meal. That's all I'm going to say. I'd be falling asleep again.
I'll plan more carefully.
All right. But yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, that's mine. That's kind of where I'm coming from. But Will, what about you? What's your pick this year?
Okay, so my pick is one, I kind of themed it off of our main review for later on, the film Krampus. My pick is a film from 2010. It's called Rare Exports: A Christmas Tale. So a couple things you should know about this movie. First of all, this is a movie from Finland. So if you are the type of person that can't stand English subtitles, probably not for you. But the idea behind this film, it's Christmas Eve in northern Finland, and despite all of this warning, there's this archaeological dig that is just uncovered Santa Claus. But this Santa Claus is very different than the one that we're used to. He's a bit more, I guess ravenous is the word I'd use. So one by one, the local children of this little mountain town start to disappear, and it's up to this one boy and his father, who is a reindeer hunter by trade, to try to capture this this ancient mythological being. And that's the basic premise. It actually gets a lot crazier from there, but I'm going to avoid all of that because spoilers and such. This is really, really good themed holiday horror. It's one of those nice little blends between comedy and horror. And unlike for me, a really good genre bender knows where to plant its flag, and this one definitely leans towards kind of the horrific and the tense, but it does find some really good, like, dark laughs in the absurdity of this situation, and it's really absurd. In fact, I can think of very few movies that feature more dirty naked old men, if you're into that sort of thing. There's sharp photography, really beautiful landscape, even if it's a little isolated and desolate. The snowy mountain town that they're in is really quite a compelling backdrop. There's something about Scandinavian genre films between, like, Let the Right One In from Sweden and Troll Hunter from Norway and, of course, Rare Experts from Finland. They really do this type of thing right. And again, because of the Santa Claus theme and this one boy trying to, kind of protect himself and his family, you definitely have some of those familiar Christmas themes, a young boy trying to deal with this magical being or this magical world. We see that all the time in Christmas movies. Of course, this one's turned on its head quite a bit. I really like this movie. I think if you're not a genre fan, it may not be for you, but if you are, you should totally check it out. I think it's still streaming on Netflix. Have you guys seen this one?
I have not seen it. I think I've when it first was pushed out to VOD, I think I saw a trailer for it, and it looked interesting. I just never got around to it. I never got around to Troll Hunter either. That was another one that looked kind of interesting when it came around. I think it was at the Loft actually for a while, and we didn't get to see it. But yeah, I mean, it looked interesting, and it'll be interesting, Will, when we get into this discussion of Krampus, if how you might compare these two movies.
I've intentionally kept as tight-lipped as I can on that one. Because I think I know where you're coming down on this one.
Yeah, I think you do.
But
if you read my tweets.
But I decided to be kind of vague on Twitter, so
okay.
This will be fun.
Okay, great. Yeah, so my movie, I was trying to think of an alternative Christmas movie, and there are a few of them out there. Like if you look. I saw one site that even listed Prometheus as kind of a movie that has a Christmas theme because the very first part of the movie they're celebrating Christmas on the ship. And then there's minor spoilers for Prometheus. There's this whole thing about this being coming to Earth, you know what I mean, and kind of sparking life on the planet, and there's kind of some heavy, kind of some religious overtones and stuff like that that are that could be kind of draw parallels to the Christian story of Christmas and stuff like that. So, and the next time I watch Prometheus, probably before the next Alien movie comes out, then I'm going to be looking for those things. But that said, my pick is a movie that I think I've talked about in regards to Christmas before, and that's Edward Scissorhands. Tim Burton's Edward Scissorhands from 1990. He wrote and directed this one, starring Johnny Depp, Winona Ryder, a whole bunch of people. This is probably one of, at least in my opinion, one of Tim Burton's best efforts. I love the story. It's not a movie about Christmas or about Santa or any of that stuff, but it does, especially near the end of the movie, and we will get into some spoilers about this. It is set during the Christmas time in this make-believe town that it's set in. Edward Scissorhands is kind of taken in by this family. He's a lonely, withdrawn dude who's got scissors for hands, and he's taken in, and strange things start to happen with his family. Some resentments form, and there's this whole thing at the end where it's Christmas time, and he creates this giant ice sculpture of Kim, the girl that he's kind of got this thing for, and he's carving away at this ice sculpture and making snow. One of the things is this town that decorates, or this little neighborhood that decorates every year for Christmas, has never had snow, and so he decides to give them the gift of snow by making this ice sculpture, and he makes snow, and Kim is dancing around it. There's some beautiful scenes at the end. There's I don't want to give too much away about the climax of this movie, but at the very end of the movie, there's a lot of time has passed, and the town now has snow every year. Ever since Edward was around and has disappeared, he's now gone up to this castle where he creates these ice sculptures in the likeness of Kim, and as he's cutting them with his scissor hands, he creates snow that blankets the whole neighborhood. And it's kind of a sweet story. I'm a sucker for emotional, well done emotional stories. And this is one of them, and I just love that. It's got a Christmas tie-in in probably a few ways, and we've also seen that. I think Tim Burton has this thing for the Christmas holiday, obviously with his Nightmare Before Christmas, which people argue is really a Halloween movie, not a Christmas movie.
Batman Returns,
totally a Christmas movie.
Batman Returns, right? So. There you go. I mean, Edward Scissorhands is on my list of favorite Christmas movies, but it's also falls somewhere on my list of favorite movies of all time, too.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well...
Yeah, I love that snow scene. It's one of those things that it's sort of timeless, right? Like it's you think back to kind of that era film, kind of like that decade, and one of the things that flashes in your brain is him making the sculptures outside.
Right.
Such inventive, beautiful filmmaking.
Right. Yep. That's what I tend to try to I refer to as kind of just lyrical, beautiful filmmaking. You know what I mean? It doesn't.
Right.
Not a lot of words. You don't have to say a lot. Just show what's happening and let the viewer take in what's happening in the story. And when Tim Burton is at his best when he does that kind of thing. Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Right. Good pick. Absolutely. Well, are you guys feeling more in the spirit now?
Getting there. I still feel like I need more like eggnog or some gingerbread cookies. Actually, nix the gingerbread cookies. Just the eggnog is fine.
Why is Nick a gingerbread cookie?
We need to make a trip to the Mega Mart.
Yeah.
We need to make a trip to the Mega Mart on Black Friday. That's what we need to do.
Is that what we need to do? Oh yeah, that's exactly what we need to do.
Nice. You know what? We'll just take a quick aside here. I got to tell you, part of my problem with getting jump started in the holiday spirit is that the holidays start like mid-September now anymore. Like all the stores start putting out their Christmas shit. Like we start having Christmas commercials like October 1st, like before even Halloween. And I think I just get in this mindset of like, I'm not ready for it. I don't want to think about Christmas. And by the time we get to December, I'm so sick of it already that like, I don't know. It's hard for me to, get past that mental block. I don't know. But talking about movies like this that we enjoy, that kind of have some of those thematic elements, definitely start to melt the icy block that is my heart at the holidays.
You know what is better than talking about movies?
Watching
them. Yes.
Oh yeah.
You know what's even
some of these
better?
we're gonna have to cue some of these up and watch them.
You know what's even better than watching those movies to unfreeze your holiday heart?
What's that?
Watching those movies with hot cocoa in frozen mugs.
Yes.
For me, it's and I think we talked about this in a previous Christmas special, but I like to sit down with the movie Elf, put that on while wrapping my presents. That's become my little tradition. Like it's a very light Christmas special. Like it's got and it's a very modern Christmas special. It's perfect for just like while I'm kind of heads down, paper and tape and scissors, and trying to figure out how to wrap that weird spherical object that doesn't quite wrap right. Like I like to have Elf on in the background.
You know what's cool, guys? We have fucking Christmas specials.
Yeah, it is pretty cool,
Of
right?
our own. Like, I was just thinking about that. I'm like, oh, it's time for our yearly holiday special. Oh my gosh, we have a holiday.
So the only thing that our holiday special is missing is like we need to make sure that one of us learns about the spirit or the meaning of Christmas or something like that by the end of the episode. Like we need a through line is what we need.
I think Krampus is going to help us to learn that message very well.
Maybe.
Well, speaking of Krampus. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Oh, quick aside, and I know we're not doing movie news this time, but this is kind of related to Christmas. Is one of my favorite anti-Christmas movies of all time is Bad Santa, and there's been some news recently about Bad Santa 2 getting off the ground finally. So
yes.
I'm not sure when we're going to get it. I'm not sure if it's going to be in time for next year or the year after, but I am very, very excited to see, to see what they do with Bad Santa 2, if it can match the hijinks of the first movie.
You want some sandwiches, Santa?
Yeah. I know.
It's supposed to hit, you never know if something's going to go wrong, but it's supposed to open the 2016 holiday season, so...
well, that would be awesome.
That would be great if this time next year we're talking about Bad Santa 2, which I know Bad Santa is one of your personal favorites, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you've brought it up. I think you brought it up on the
last year's show. Yeah.
So I remember reading that news and immediately thinking like, oh, I bet you Jim is like jumping for joy right now.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Yeah, there's that little Krampus in me that really enjoys like the derelict Billy Bob Thornton Santa, like berating little kids that are, in front of them and embarrassing the parents and pissing them off, and rooting for Krampus also. So
there you go. Totally. Well, guys, we have a movie to review. Are we ready to get to it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's do it.
Do it. Mm-hmm.
All right. So, if you're not familiar with our format, because we do have some folks that are new to the show, hello, welcome, by the way, glad to have you. We are going to talk about the film spoiler-free for a little while. We'll give you our initial impressions and whether we think you should see this movie before giving you fair warning before we go into Spoiler Town. But that said, here we go, our review of Krampus. All right, so, Jim, why don't you give us a little bit of setup for this one? Spoiler-free, your initial thoughts, and if you think people should check it out.
It was a cold night when I was a young child. No, this I will read the synopsis from Fandango this time, not IMDb. Ready?
Ready.
A family suffering from a lack of Christmas cheer inadvertently summon the spirit of Krampus, a creature out of ancient folklore who wreaks havoc on the holiday. This movie is, let me see, written and directed by this guy named Michael Dougherty, who gave us another memorable holiday-type movie called Trick or Treat, a few years back, well, probably 4 or 5 years back at this point. That was kind of an anthology movie, if I remember right. Trick or Treat had a few. Was it an anthology, Will? I can't remember.
It's one film, one director, made of multiple vignettes that intersect with each other.
Yeah. That's
kind of an anthology, but more interconnected vignettes.
Yeah. But this one, new this year from Michael Dougherty, stars Adam Scott, Toni Collette. It stars people that we've seen in other properties before, like Conchata Farrell. If you've watched Two and a Half Men, I think she's been all over that show as the I don't even know what her character's name is, but she's kind of the, I don't know if she's a housekeeper or she's like a kind of a quick-witted neighbor. And then a bunch of other people. David Kochner, I think his name is.
I think
is
it's
in this
Ketchner.
Ketchner, yeah. Allison Tolman. And yeah, so this movie, I really wanted to like this movie a lot. I was kind of excited to see it. The trailers look pretty good. It's kind of that mixture of horror and comedy. And I got to be honest, guys, and you guys may have a different view, but I kind of walked away from this one a little bit disappointed in what it did. I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but I loved it right off the bat with the opening credit scene. I thought was probably one of the better things in the movie, to be honest with you. And then, the setup of the story with the family, I thought was also pretty well done. I mean, it was something we've seen several times before in other movies from, what is it? National Lampoon's Christmas movie, and plenty of other kind of dysfunctional family type of setups. But this movie really didn't catch me either on the comedy level or on the horror level. And Will, you talked about it earlier, and it kind of rang a bell with me. Like, the movie kind of needs to know where to plant its flag and make it happen. This movie, I couldn't tell, first of all, where it wanted to plant its flag, and if it was, and I don't think it was successful, even if it knew where it wanted to go. I thought the comedy was pretty flat overall. There were a few chuckles here and there, and the horror was pretty generic with nothing really new to offer. Other than, I give them credit for some of the low budget practical effects I thought were pretty good, the wintry scenes and so forth. But yeah, it just didn't live up to the expectation that I had for it. Expectation management, right? I would have to say I can't recommend people running out to see this. It's not going to be on my list of holiday classics, unfortunately. We'll talk about more in spoilers about where we think it dropped the ball, but that's my overall view. What did you guys think of it, Brad?
I actually kind of enjoyed this movie. I see where you're coming from. I mean, if you judge it like, is this a great movie? Obviously, no, it's not. But I think that it kind of sets out to do a few things. One, sort of educate us on this creepy, like, German, Bavarian, whatever legend of this, Christmas devil, and kind of gives you some of that Christmassy, backdrop with all the snow and the Christmas trees and the presents and all the family craziness that typically comes with that too. I think some of the family scenes, I love my family, love in my heart, but sometimes you really know how to push each other's buttons, and I think that this movie, one of the things it does well is it sort of showcases that dynamic. In some cases, way probably more over the top than your normal family would be, but I just thought it was, I don't know, maybe my family can be a little dysfunctional. I think all of our families can be. But there's certain things like happening around the dinner table, right? Like, that I'm just kind of like, oh my god, like, that's totally my cousin Matt, or oh my gosh, that is me, or that's my sister. You know what I mean? And so, not that I think our family was ever in any danger of summoning a demon on Christmas, but I could see how things could go awry. You lose sight of the true meaning of the holiday, I guess, and craziness happens. I kind of liked a lot of the reliance on the practical effects rather than it being a total CGI fest. I'm actually getting really tired of CGI. Like, I used to think CGI was the coolest thing around, and now it's like, you know what? Like, it's lazy. Like, if you want to do some cool effects, why don't you get off your ass and like build something and do it, as opposed to just punching some math into a computer and making it happen on your screen. That said, I still love playing video games, but I don't know. I think for this film, you know, when judged for what it is, I think it's meant to be sort of a creepy, darkly funny sort of you know, holiday creep out. And there were some things that were a little creepy to me. We'll talk about some of those more in spoilers, I think. But I mean, overall, not a super great movie. But if you're looking for a fun alternate, you know, Christmas/holiday film, this is one to check out. Especially if you're like me and you live in an area where you don't get snow and you want to be reminded of why you fucking moved away from those areas that do. This is a good one. Anyway, Will, what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, so I love horror comedies. I love genre. We've talked about that probably ad nauseum on this show. Like, this is a place where I feel very comfortable. So I was definitely looking forward to Krampus as well. As we kind of mentioned before when I talked about rare exports, and Jim, you brought it up as well, really good horror comedies need to know where they plant their flag, why they're doing the thing that they're doing. In some case, it's having very stylized humor or really leaning into the comedy side of things. Like, I think about some of my favorite horror comedies. Tucker and Dale versus Evil, full of all of that accidental death and dismemberment. Shaun of the Dead with the subversion of the traditional zombie formula. Cabin in the Woods, thriving in the absurdity of the horror genre as a whole. And even more recently, What We Do in the Shadows with crackshot dialogue, taking the piss out of empires. These are all films that really leaned heavily into the comedy side of things. My problem with Krampus, and I did have a huge problem with it, is that the comedy was very ill-formed. There were parts that you could tell they were looking for the joke and they were looking for the humor in the situation, and sometimes they kind of got near it or they got close to it, but I don't think they leaned into it enough to really make the funny stuff funny. And with a good horror comedy, when the funny stuff is really funny, you're then able to shift gears dramatically and make the horrific stuff even more horrific. And this film, I think maybe part of it suffered because of its PG-13 rating. It wasn't able to really go all out there on the horror side of things. But I think more than anything, it suffered because of the script. It didn't really go any of the places this film wanted to go. I probably liked it a little bit more than Jim. I think I liked it less than Brad. This is a film that I don't know that I would recommend, but I didn't hate it. There are some really cool practical effects. Brad, you mentioned the effects of the monsters in this film. I think that is the crowning achievement of this film. There are some of the monsters, and I'll hold off on saying what they are, but there are two in particular that are really fucking cool. That said, there is one set of monsters that is done in CGI, and they're absolutely ridiculous, and they almost single-handedly ruin the movie. Again, we'll talk about those in spoilers. I wish that Krampus himself had more screen time, but I did enjoy his design. Was really, really cool. Sometimes you get these monster movies where you don't show the big monster until the very end because it's got a crappy design, and if you show him too early, it'll diminish things. I think we could have seen more of him. This monster design was so cool. You could have had him front and center the full movie, and it wouldn't have lost anything. Terrible pacing issues at the end. I think a good horror movie knows how to amp up its escalation. With a little bit of setup, raising stakes. Shit goes haywire, and then final climax. And there are large sections of this film that kind of just decide, like, well, we're done with this, so let's just skip to the next section. And they do so abruptly and at the expense of the story. I really love Michael Dougherty's Trick or Treat. I was wanting this film to be amazing. I wanted this to be the Christmas movie I watched every Christmas, just like Trick or Treat is the Halloween movie I watch every Halloween. It's not, unfortunately. It's not the worst thing in the world. There are way worse movies. This one was just kind of ill-fitted. Like, it felt like it lost direction. So yeah, I can't recommend this movie. Didn't love it. I think the more I think about it, I don't know that I even liked it that much. But yeah. So it's a disappointment. That's where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, even I mean, Toni Collette is a great actor, actress.
Oh yeah.
And you put her in a movie like this, and I'm like, oh my God, man, they could have put anybody in that role, and it was just so wasted. And even her performance didn't, even when she was on screen. I mean, it takes for me, it's a sin for a movie to take a very talented actor and make them appear just like one of the crowd. You know what I mean? And that's what kind of this movie did. I won't talk about any spoilers yet. One of the things some of the special effects were pretty cool, but I never got the feeling that they were really in winter. It was kind of weird. It felt like soundstage snow. You know what I mean? It didn't. Never got that like chilly feeling that I should get when I see a dark, cold, wintry scene. It just felt really a little bit fakey with the snowy stuff. Will, you talked about the Krampus creature itself, and he did make an appearance, but pretty underwhelming to me. I mean, I thought the scenes of him like. Let's just say the distance scenes from him that we saw earlier on, kind of shadowy stuff, I thought that was much more like creepy than when he was like right there in front and center. It gave me a really haunting feeling to see him like doing his thing from a distance almost.
I don't know that that's a fault of the character design itself. I think it's more an issue with I don't think as a villain that he did as much once we got up close. Like he was creepy for creepy's sake and didn't. It's again, I'm dancing around it, pre-spoilers, but he didn't do as much as he inspired some other things to happen. So we didn't get to be terrified of him up close. There weren't the terrible stakes of like, oh man, this guy's gonna get me, which is especially disappointing because the Krampus of myth. One of the things that he's known for is he's got these like he either has a whip in more modern tellings or in more classic ones. He has like the whip is kind of based on like you take these branches and like he would flog children with them.
Like a switch.
Yeah, like a switch.
Right.
That could have made for some really cool scenes if he's just like whipping the hell out of some kids or something.
That would have been awesome. Yeah. I would love that.
Yeah, because several of those kids definitely would have been prime candidates for that.
Yeah, it's one of those films where it's like you're just kind of mentally in your head screaming, it's like, it's right there. Like, it is so close to doing the things that it needs to do, and for whatever reason it doesn't. And I don't know why it doesn't. Trick or Treat was a solid movie that knew its roots and knew how to kind of pull all of those different things together. And I would have expected, I did expect the same here. It's almost like someone heard a story about Krampus like fourth hand from someone else. Like they watched the American Dad special that featured CeeLo as Krampus and said, "All right, now we're going to turn that into a movie," without actually doing the.
Was that a thing? Because I got to look it up.
That was totally a thing. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
CeeLo as Krampus. This movie should have hired him then.
Oh my God, CeeLo is the voice. Yes, do it.
I don't know. His arms wouldn't have been long enough.
But Brad, you talked about the family and he didn't need arms in this movie, just fingernails, right? The fingernails make up for the lack of arm length.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Are his arms in like internet inches or something like?
Wow. Brad, you mentioned the family dynamic at the beginning, and I kind of agree with you. I think, to me, I mentioned that the opening credit scene was good, and then the kind of the family introductions that we got at the beginning were fairly interesting, even though, again, you go through all the characters, we've almost kind of seen all of them before in other dysfunctional family situations. I just wish the comedy was a little bit more, juiced up a little bit. And again, maybe that was a PG-13 thing. I don't know. And especially where you got kids involved and a kid audience maybe. Right. But yeah, it's just like the the unexpected aunt character, and
Mm-hmm.
probably getting too far into spoilers.
I
Now.
think now is probably a good time just to segue the conversation.
This
Really,
one's
'cause-
hard to talk about without
Yeah.
spoilers. Yeah, we
Yep.
should. Yeah.
All right, spoilers, fair game. If you keep listening, that's entirely up to your judgment. If you make the wrong choice, we cannot be held responsible. I'm sorry, it's on you. So deal with it. Anyway, spoilers. Jim, you were talking about the aunt
Yeah,
character?
I mean, the aunt character comes in, and I kind of love that actress. I mean, she actually has sharper lines in Two and a Half Men than she had in this movie, which is kind of a shame because I think she's got the comedic timing, and she's got that experience, and this movie just didn't really. It feels like they didn't use it to full effect. I want to talk about that opening credit scene now that I can. It's kind of a slow motion view of a crazy free for all in this huge supermarket. Not supermarket, but a department store, like mega department store. People like bashing into each other, just the craziness you would see, and the way it was filmed, in that super slow motion. But it was still able to kind of tell part of the intro of the story, with the kids fighting on the stage and the parents tearing it apart, and I thought that was really good. I'm like, wow, this might be pretty good if this keeps up. And then they got into the family stuff, and that was pretty good, but then it started to feel stale for me. And then once the action started happening, that's where the movie really kind of the bottom dropped out for me a little bit in the movie. Because here's the thing, maybe if this movie had been maybe a little bit more campy with its horror, it may have worked better than it did. It almost like, I don't know, it wanted to be funny and take its horror a little too seriously in a comedy, and it just didn't. The combination just didn't really work for me.
Yeah, I think about the family scene early on, and what I guess didn't work for me as well. I think that the family sequence on paper was good. In execution, though, it lasted too long. I think there were some pacing issues at the beginning. I mentioned that earlier. A lot of the characters in this film were archetypes. They were very familiar to us. We've got an extreme right-wing uncle who says a bunch of racist things.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. We've got kind of left-wing-ish dad who's known for nonviolence. Okay, check. We've got a little kid who still believes in Santa. We've got the obnoxious cousins, the bratty older sister. These are all familiar characters to us. So if you're not going to write really razor-sharp dialogue for them, then you shorten that sequence.
Or subvert those tropes in some way.
Yeah, well, even if you don't subvert them, since you're using archetypes, if you don't have enough dialogue to really make that sequence work, then you shorten that sequence because the audience is already familiar with the concept of bratty older sister, with obnoxious uncle. So if you're not going to do much with them, then just kind of cut to the chase and get to the action. I'm not saying that this necessarily needed to do that, but it needed to choose. It needed to choose better dialogue, or it needed to choose to get to the horror. Once we got to the horror, I will say I think I may have liked that sequence more than you did, Jim. The middle of the film is them trapped in the house as shit happens, and I think that's where the movie kind of took off for me, or at least kind of showed some of its potential. I mentioned some monsters that I thought were really cool. One of them is that killer stuffed bear. I thought that design looked really neat. And probably most important, like the thing that I think was this movie's crown jewel, was there was this child-eating worm Jack-in-the-Box thing.
That thing was awesome. I loved it.
So fucking cool. Like I whenever that thing was on screen, I forgot how much I wasn't enjoying the movie, and so I kept thinking, like, make this the villain, do more with it. So there was some great design, but I mentioned before there was some terrible CGI. It's the gingerbread men. I hated the gingerbread men. They felt like they didn't belong in this movie. Like, that was a huge problem for me. They were
Shrek-like.
They were very Shrek-like. They didn't look like they fit in with the background. It wasn't good CGI, and so that was a problem for me. But the practical effects stuff really cool. Brad, which of the monsters? I know you're liking this one a little more than us, and you'd mentioned practical effects. Which of the monsters really caught your attention?
Oh man, I gotta tell you, the Krampus design was awesome. I thought I don't know, they just did a really good job with that. It makes the whole like super long beards thing like super creepy for me though. I gotta say, like, sorry Krampus, but I think I kind of like the bear actually. It reminded me of like an '80s horror movie kind of thing. You know what I mean? I think that
Like
was very
Gremlins
cool.
kind of
Yeah, yeah, like Gremlins, or I mean, there were a bunch of different horror movies in the '80s that kind of had characters like that. With like, Puppet Master had one that was kind of similar, and so I liked that quite a bit. I didn't like the Gingerbread Men. Again, CGI. I don't know, Will. I think that's maybe what you were referring to.
Yeah, those are the ones I
Yeah, absolutely. I just thought they were craptastic. But I don't know. I think the elves were pretty like whatever for me. They were just people with masks.
Just short people with masks. I mean,
yeah. But the Jack in the Box thing, like totally freaking creepy. Like that thing was like something out of Nightscape. I don't know. Like it just, oh man, it creeped me out to my core. And like when it swallowed the girl and it's like jaws were like. I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was a very cool design, and it's all practical. It's not CGI. You know what I mean? At least not that I could tell, I guess. I don't know. But.
Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of times with these movies, they'll touch up a few things, and I think that's a fine use of CGI. Like, I'm not against CGI. I'm against bad CGI. There are some movies that utilize it very heavily, but they know how to utilize it effectively. Mm-hmm. Go for it. This movie did a blend of the two, and that isn't in and of itself bad. But the problem is that when you have really, really interesting character designs with your practical effects stuff, and your CGI gingerbread men just look like, you mentioned Shrek before, they just look like CGI gingerbread men. Yeah. They're not memorable. They got too much of the kind of the silliness, which I think could have worked, but they didn't do more than just kind of giggle and dance around. Like, That's not funny. That's the equivalent of like jangling my keys in front of like a 2-year-old's face to make them laugh. That's not humor. That's not real comedy. God, that was a fucking pretentious as hell statement.
Well, it kind of was. I won't lie, but that's okay. We've learned to love that about you, Will.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. Oh, geez, Paul Alderete sent us some pictures. Did you see them, guys?
Yes, I'm looking at them.
I want to see this Krampus picture.
They're pretty legit.
There's the Krampus picture.
Nice.
Check that out. Crazy, right?
Where did he get this shit? I have no idea.
I don't know.
I would hate to think he went out and bought that just so he could like display it on our show. But it does look awesome.
Oh,
yes, it does.
I love it.
I've seen that. That's another thing. When this Krampus dude showed up, he really didn't do much. I mean, like, it was kind of a anticlimactic, I think, when the Krampus showed up and dragged the last person or whatever it was off to wherever they go, because that was never clear either. Like, it wasn't really explained in the little story that the grandmother told, and it wasn't even clear in the movie. Like, the oldest daughter went out and disappeared, right? They never really showed what happened to her. So you don't know if she's dead, she's going to come back. Are these people, the chubby kid was like sucked up the chimney and he disappeared. A lot of the deaths were like more like disappearances than deaths.
All of them were.
I'm like, are they going to come back? Like, is this all going to, like,
right?
I don't know. Just
every single one of them was an off-screen thing. All of them, except for Max, they're at the end, kind of falling into the thing. Everything else, like, it would cut away or someone would get dragged off. And I mentioned some pacing issues in the climax. I think I mentioned like it felt like it just kind of like, oh, we're done with this, let's jump to the next thing. There's a part in the movie where it had more characters left that I think it wanted to, and so it's just like, fuck, let's just have like 4 of these characters get sucked into the snow. So a lot of your major characters, not side characters, aside from the main boy, kind of your 3 main adult characters, boom, 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 go out like that.
At the end.
So
Yeah.
you don't get a chance to, like, if we're supposed to care for these characters, or if come to, like, a grudging, like, oh, they're kind of shitty people, but I get their redeeming qualities. Like we were supposed to at the end. She just kind of sucked into the snow and gone. It also made, again, like the Krampus character less interesting because the random sucking things into the snow monster got like half of the cast. Krampus didn't. I wanted to see him like whipping kids. I wanted to see him like bodily shoving some kid into like a bag or something like that. Like the most he does is he hands out a bag of toys and then bad stuff happens. This could have almost been called like Toys 2, Christmas horror, or something like that. Like,
right?
Like this felt like less about Krampus and more about like the demented toys, which could have been really cool. But it was just misguided. I don't know. Can we talk the ending? I think
we really should.
Yeah, let's talk the ending.
Absolutely.
So I will say I didn't hate the ending because I think I know where they were going. I hated the build up to the ending. The main boy, Max, he's the kind of the catalyst for all of this. He loses his Christmas spirit, and Krampus decides, like, all right, I'm gonna fuck y'all up. Max has this kind of, first of all, he has this moment where he's the sole survivor. Right. I think if the movie dropped off right there, I would have enjoyed it. I think that would have been a cool, set of pathos, a bit of, kind of a mirror image of what happened to his grandmother. I think that would have been cool. But then it keeps going. He does the showdown. It's like, all I want is for my family to come back. And I'm like, okay, that's his Christmas wish. He wants his family to come back. Nothing comes of that either. So he gets to make another Christmas wish, which is, this time I want things to be the way they used to be. And that one doesn't quite work either. He's thrown into the thing, and then they get this.
Which was a cool moment, by the way.
It was.
I liked the fact that, Krampus didn't say, oh, okay, I guess I'll let you go. He's like, no, fuck you, you're going too. Whoosh,
But yeah. But it loses its through line because you don't really understand what Max's role as the hero is supposed to be. And if it's just to make the heroic stand and die, he makes 3 heroic stands kind of there at the end. The snow globe itself, I think kind of Krampus's punishment for them, what I could infer from this, is kind of trapping them in the eternal Christmas that he wants them to have. So your punishment for not having Christmas cheer is to forever have Christmas cheer.
Except you'll do it on my shelf.
Except you'll do it on my shelf. Yeah, so that's why they're kind of doomed to repeat this. And I love the fact that there's this moment where they realize what's happened to them. That shot of horror on their faces right at the end was very, very effective for me. But again, it's the build-up to get there was too much. I felt like it rushed sequences to get to that, so I didn't really feel as invested as I could have been or should have been. Yeah. Yep. But that was me. What about you guys? Because I think I think one's enjoyment of this film might really come down to how much they enjoyed the ending, because this really is the bow that you tie on this present.
I think for me that the ending, I don't know, it worked for me. I was glad that it wasn't like we hit the reset button, everything's okay now. That would have ruined the movie to me. You know what I mean? You have this cool setup, you have this kid who, be careful what you wish for, right? And I think it's kind of awesome the way that it ended. I totally want one of those ornaments that's Gruss von Krampus or whatever. Greetings from
the bell?
From Krampus, yeah, the bell.
Yeah.
Totally want one of those. Yeah. But I don't know. It worked for me. Jim, did it work for you?
Yeah, it somewhat worked for me. I was ready to be totally pissed off at this movie. I wasn't really enjoying it all that much, and then this end came where it's I'm like, don't fucking tell me that this is going to be all a dream and everything's going to be okay at Christmas, because everything's cool. Until that last twist at the very end when we find out, no, this is just a kind of a perpetual doom that they're all in. And I thought it was a cool play on the snow globe thing, actually, too.
Totally, yeah.
How we say, everything's going to be, every show that we watch, Lost, right? Think of Lost when you watch Lost. This fucking show's going to end with everybody in a fucking...
Right!
I think the first show to do that was it St. Elsewhere?
It was St. Elsewhere, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. It was a cool twist on the St. Elsewhere thing, I thought. a little bit homage of an homage to that. And I thought it was fine. It was effective enough for the movie. I thought the way it worked. So kudos to the movie for doing that and pulling that off. But again, it was like one of those movies with like 3 endings.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it didn't need 3 endings. The interesting thing about the ending, I went and saw it with a friend as we walked out. The first thing I said was, I did not like the ending of this movie when I thought it was going to end like a dream, like Dallas. But I liked it when it was a snow globe, like St. Elsewhere. So that kind of worked.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, guys, I don't know
if there's any kind of a soundtrack thing to talk about.
Yeah, I don't think
I don't
so.
remember
Really.
anything.
It was a little jarring at times for me. The score was very obvious and apparent. There were some times where it just kind of burst into some like random, very on-the-nose Christmassy music. At times where it didn't really make sense. So I didn't really love the score, or at least how it was utilized.
I think for me, it was just pretty not memorable. I mean, the only thing I really remember was just the random like sleigh bells sometimes. Like I don't remember like a overarching like musical motif or anything that kind of played through. I don't know, Jim. You're a big music guy. Did you notice any kind of?
Totally transparent. I didn't really notice any. Yeah, and that might be my fault for maybe checking out a little bit on part of this movie, but I don't remember much about the soundtrack, which is not a good thing.
No, it's not.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately.
No.
Oh well. Well, guys, I don't know that we have much else to say on Krampus, do we?
Yeah, I think I'm there. I think that this is either a don't recommend or a very soft recommend at best from us.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, let's move on to some pluggage. Will, what have you got this week?
Let's see. What am I plugging? Okay. Yeah. So, wanted to plug a movie. It came out earlier this year. I didn't get a chance to see it in theaters, but it is now on Amazon VOD. It's called The End of the Tour, and it's a movie directed by James Ponsoldt. It stars Jason Segel and Jesse Eisenberg, and it's the story about this 5-day-long interview between Rolling Stone reporter David Lipsky, that's Jesse Eisenberg, and the novelist David Foster Wallace, and that's Jason Segel. And this is right after 1996's Wallace came out with The Infinite Jest, which was a very well-received and kind of genre-defining novel. So it's this movie about this 5-day-long conversation between these two people who have a lot of similarities but don't otherwise know each other, get to know one another, kind of learn some things in the process. Really, really solid performance. Jesse Eisenberg is fine in this. Doesn't necessarily blow me away, but he's competent. Jason Segel is quite good in this. Really, really solid.
Yeah.
I really recommend this movie. I thought it was quite cool. The End of the Tour.
Yeah, well, that one is definitely on my list because I do like Jesse Eisenberg as an actor, regardless of what I've seen in the Batman versus Superman trailers, and we can have that discussion later. But I do like that guy as an actor.
Yeah,
I've heard that Segel was really surprisingly good in this movie, which kind of intrigues me. And also, James Ponsoldt, we know, does great work. We saw The Spectacular Now.
Right.
That was his movie.
Yep.
Brad, I think we saw that as part of the Sundance in Tucson series.
We did, yeah.
And James was here for Q&A. That was really good.
Oh, right on.
And so we want to see that. But also, I've been hearing great things about this TV series called Master of None that's out there. And he is attached to this. I don't know if he's the producer or directs some of the episode or writes for it. But yeah, I want to catch up with that movie, and that series is kind of on my short list of new series to start into.
Yeah, I think he directed 2 of the episodes, including the pilot and I think one of the episodes middle in. Cool. Yeah, it's a really good show. Netflix is very consistent at making good shows nowadays.
I know, crazy, huh?
This is one that is worth the binge. Great series.
Yeah. Awesome.
I think it's going to have to be on our list, Jim. Yeah. I don't know when we're going to get to it. You still have to make your way through Enterprise.
I'm halfway through, man. I'm plowing through right now. I promise to finish it.
It's been a long road, Jim.
It's been a long road. Yes, it has.
Well, Jim, what's your plug this week?
Oh, my plug is I forget what I was listening to, but it was something about zombies. I don't know if they were talking about The Walking Dead and how much they either liked it or hated it, but somebody threw out the name of this movie called Wormwood, and it's spelled WYRMWOD, and it's actually called Wormwood: Road of the Dead. And I kind of watched this movie and kind of dug it. To be honest, the zombie genre has been getting really stale, especially from watching The Walking Dead every week. That show can really do a number on you. I mean, we've seen it in 28 Days Later. We've seen, all these zombies. Everybody's doing a fucking zombie show now, right? So turn on this Aussie movie from last year, and it's pretty fucking badass. I mean, it's pretty much action from the very first beat to the end of the movie, and it's a really tight script. It's got characters that you care about. It's got practical effects that I thought were some of the best in the zombie genre. Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. I thought it was like, think of it like Mad Max meets Dawn of the Dead, because that's exactly what it was. And I think that's exactly what they were going for, and that's what they got. And I kind of enjoyed it all the way through. Not award-winning cinema, but damn good entertainment. I liked it.
Yeah. So I gotta tell you, Jim got me to watch this movie because he's like, Brad, there's a hairy-chested guy in this movie. You gotta watch it.
It's a funny story.
So I'm like, all right, I'm reading Avatar: The Last Airbender comics right now, but I'll put my iPad down because, hey, guy with a hairy chest, and it's a movie Jim wants me to check out. Watch the whole freaking movie. No guy with a hairy chest.
I was duped. I was fucking duped.
I'm like, Jim, where's the guy with the hairy chest? So Jim's like, well, let me show you the trailer. And we watch this trailer or scene or whatever it is, and it's this other scene that's totally recast and redone, a different dude, the hairy-chested guy is gone. I feel very cheated.
Yeah. So this one, the backstory on this one is they did a proof of concept film first, which is what they use a lot for the trailer. So there are actors and scenes that aren't in the final cut, and so then they released Wormwood, and that was how it originally circulated, and then it hit VOD, and for some reason people I guess they were afraid that people wouldn't get what Wormwood meant, so they added that Road of the Dead. So this is one with a bunch of weird little iterations. For me, it's legit as fuck zombie movie. I love genre. I love zombie movies, even if I'm getting a little tired of the formula as much as everyone else. This one does some new things with zombies, and I think that's worth the watch for any genre fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Agree. How many more times can we say the word genre in tonight's show?
Yeah, as long as we keep it depends on what type of film you're
stop picking genre movies.
Yeah, as long as we keep talking genre movies, we're gonna keep flagging it.
I guess so.
What do you got, Brad?
I'll close this out. My plug is actually for something that's happening in real life, believe it or not. Here in Tucson, I mentioned it earlier, the Loft Cinema is kind of our super cool indie film place that shows lots of genre movies for people who like genre films. Every year they have they have their very merry holiday sing-along where they show holiday genre clips that are like music videos or chunks from holiday specials that are musical. And they have Follow the Bouncing Ball lyrics on the screen, and you get 300 people in an auditorium all putting on their sneakers and doing some runs with Mariah Carey to All I Want for Christmas Is You, and Let It Go from Frozen. And I don't know, it's kind of awesome. They give out glow sticks. They have a really bad ugly sweater parade / contest thing. They have Nog. It's a lot of fun. They also collect toys. for local charities. So every year we typically, Jim puts on his Santa hat and goes like dollar store toy shopping. And it's a cool way to give back to the community, but also have a lot of fun in the process. So that's at the Loft Cinema here in Tucson. That is Thursday night, the 10th at 7 p.m. But our Movie Bear group is going, so we're going to be gathering between 6:15 and 6:30 outside or in the lobby. So if you're in the Tucson area, you want to join us. It's not just for bears. If you're watching the show, you're invited. So come on out, as long as you're not a creepy serial killer that wants to slaughter me and paint the walls with my blood. That would be bad. But yeah, come on out.
Yeah, let's not do that. Like let's say no to that last thing.
I'm down. I'm totally down. But anyway, that's typically where I get my Christmas spirit like jump started for the year, and it's actually a little earlier in the month than it typically is, Jim. So.
It's usually about halfway through the Wham song that Brad gets his Christmas spirit going.
I'm all like drinking eggnog and fluffing out my hair.
Last Christmas, I gave you my heart.
The very next day, you gave it away. Anyway, gay Christmas, here we come. But yeah, that's my plug for this week. So, guys, we just completed like our third holiday special. How are you feeling?
Festive. Maybe not necessarily holiday festive yet. Who knows? But I definitely want to go watch some more movies. And hey, that's a good feeling for me. That's my Christmas. I'll be watching a bunch of movies Christmas Day anyway, so I'm good.
Nice.
Totally magodally. Well, next week we have a choice, guys. We can either do Heart of the Ocean or whatever that new movie
Heart of the
starring
Sea.
Thor and Spider-Man is, or we can do what we were talking about and talk about the Star Wars movies in preparation for Force Awakens.
Wait, there's a Star Wars movie?
Yeah, there's a Star Wars movie coming out.
Nice.
It's coming out so soon.
Yay.
We've talked about, like, are you in the Christmas spirit? I'm in the Star Wars spirit.
You're in the Jedi spirit.
I think I need to get to the other side of Star Wars before I can get in the Christmas spirit.
I'm ready for Wookiee Life Day.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm wondering, even if this movie is great, which we all hope it will be, what kind of letdown all these nerds... It's going to be a giant nerd hangover after Star Wars premieres.
There's one cure for that hangover, Jim.
What's that?
Seeing the movie again.
And that's what's going to happen. It's people are either going to hate watch it or they're going to love watch it, because that's what happens with this type of movie.
Mm-hmm.
I predict I'm going to need to see it 4 times.
This is going to be your version of Rent for me? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, definitely. But anyway. All right. So Star Wars, are we agreed? Star Wars ramp-up party?
So let's for any viewers or listeners who want to follow along, let's encapsulate that so that they can prep for it. It looks like we're going to do the 6 core films.
Yeah, so I think we're just going to briefly kind of talk through each one. We'll figure out if we're going to start with 4, 5, and 6 or 1, 2, and 3.
How they might lead up to this movie?
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be
without
part of the
spoiling
discussion.
anything we've seen. Now that will be the line, though.
I don't think
that'll be hard.
I think we can. Well, and also we can nail this down. But I think that's probably the type of discussion where we're just saying, hey, we're going to be spoiling these Star Wars movies. People have seen the Star Wars movies. There's probably no,
I don't mean that. I mean, we can talk about the Star Wars movies and spoil those, and then how those plots might lead into, kind of speculate.
Oh yeah. Rampant speculation is totally fine.
Yeah, but confirming some kind of internet rumor is not. Like, some ass bag on Facebook today posted this article, and it's like 10 spoilers about Star Wars just confirmed. Read them now. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, come on. No, I didn't want to, like, almost accidentally read that crap.
I think it's great that the 3 of us have stayed very spoiler-free. Like, even for, like, even for people that follow film very heavily, even if you're just general sci-fi fans, like, there's a lot of people that know a lot more than we do about these films. So I think if we do dive into some rampant speculation, any listeners who tune in can be assured that we know nothing. We're not giving away anything. In fact, probably what we're going to do is be wrong on a lot of plot points.
So it'll be fun to tee that up and put that out there and say, hey, here's kind of what world this is going to take place in, and kind of what we might expect to see, and then come back a week later and say, see where we hit it and where we totally missed.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, sounds good. Well, thank you everyone for joining us this week. It was fun hanging out with you. There were a few of you. There are a couple of you still left. So thanks for hanging around for plugs, because you know what? That's the part of the show where it's us, like, sharing stuff that we love. So you're not here.
Speaking of plugs, Wormwood is on Netflix. If you got Netflix for free, it's there. I forgot to mention that, so I had to stick it in.
All right. Yeah,
I think
stick
it's
it
good.
in.
Thanks for sticking in your wormwood. Yeah.
I hope your wood doesn't have worms. Oh my gosh, I was playing Minecraft on lunch because I have some friends who were like, "Oh my god, you have to play!" So I was checking it out. And this is a total aside, but I was chopping down a tree with my hand, and apparently there's an achievement called Getting Wood, and it said Brad has achieved getting wood.
And you're like, oh, Minecraft, that was earlier today.
At least twice. Anyway, bye everybody. Take care. See you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.